me check. Yes, yeah.
It's for you.
Okay, so I'm in Nemesis Bastion. If you don't have it and you still wanna watch it, I can share on Discord my screen.
You got two
That would be
swords.
perfect.
Yes.
I thought it was great sword hammer.
Yeah, that's what I've got.
Yeah.
Oh, Shinko's cheating.
You will
roaming
see.
thing,
You will
huh?
see. It's part of the training, guys. Come on. Don't lie. I'm streaming and recording, so hopefully it's gonna hold up. Okay. So, first of all, build and weapons and stuff. Gear. You would like to have 100% crit chance with Fury. And you get that by using mostly Berserker gear on armor, Berserker weapons with the accuracy sigil, and then some Marauder, the Marauder backpack and the rest. I suppose it's all Berserker. So you get 60% crit chance. Now it's not exactly 60% because I'm using the double weapon, and here is 53 plus the sigil that I don't have. It's gonna be 60, and then with Fury you get to 100%. Now, and that's the only gear part, and we are also running Scholar because we want the maximum amount of damage, and Scholar it is. Build wise, there's our guild build. I was also playing around between the presence and notoriety. This is more selfish. I can't remember which one we are actually running on the guild build, but the main difference is that
The top one.
Presence. Yeah, it's
Top
presence.
one, yeah.
yeah, this one shares Fury with your party. This one does not. I mean, if you have like, if there are two Vindicators in the same party, by any chance, or another class that is already sharing Fury, then you can drop the presence and use notoriety, which says more damage. Other than that, they're mostly standard stuff. All things that increase damage. You can might when you get yourself Fury. Not yourself Fury when you do stuff. This one increases the effects of Fury. So instead of giving you 20%, it's gonna give you 40%. Nothing interesting other than that. So as I was saying before, for the food and utilities, you want the power ferocity food, and you want the 200 power enhancement, which is, let's see if I have one. If I need to buy.
I put
I
it
don't-
in watch out for you. Is that the one? Souffle, 200 power for 30 seconds on kill.
Nope.
For us.
No. It's the utility one, which
That one.
Oh, I think I mean that one.
no, it's the weight of superior.
Oh, okay.
Master full strength. This one. Now, I highly recommend to use it with primers, because otherwise it costs way too much. Right?
Yes.
But if it is 1 gold for, I don't know, 2 hours for the small primer, or how much is it, 12 hours for the primer with the gem, yeah, well, it's kind of worth it. But this one grants you more overall damage than the superior sharpening stone, which is the alternative. So if you're cheap and you don't want to spend money, you can go for the Sharpening Stone. Otherwise, this Multiple Strength is the preferred option. So, how to use this stuff? This stuff is quite easy, actually. Regardless of what seasoned evidence might say, it's quite easy. Now, you have access to an optional legend swap, which is this one. Brings you from blue to red. You're never gonna press that button. You always wanna be, on the right side of things. Blue is for healing. Orange and red is for the damage. You want to dodge. Dodge is a major component for the Vindicator because it grants you a buff. In this case, it's extra damage. So you want to dodge roughly all the time to keep that effect up. Now, switching the legend will switch your utilities. So if you switch it, you switch your utility. Swapping a legend has the same cooldown as swapping weapons. So to keeps okay. Now let's go to the weapons thing. Now I was looking at the PvE side of things because I was wondering what they are running, and they're running great sword and double sword. So I'm gonna give it a try. There is a reason why we in a guild build we are running with in hammer. Just because it might give you some kind of range play, and all your major skills are 1200 range. So while the enemy is approaching, you can spike at range. 1 and 2 and etc. Now, the hammer is really slow. Your auto attack has some cleave effect, so it affects the target and 5 targets close to the target. The Colossus of Ruin is a line that you have to aim, and he's 5 targets on that line. It doesn't matter where they are. It used to matter, but it doesn't anymore. Phase Smash has the nice effect that you spike an area, but also you are stuck into an animation that teleports you there and go back. All the time you are stuck there, you cannot move. So while we are moving, and if you want to spike there, you're gonna stay still while the group is moving on the left or right. You're gonna left behind. So you always have to keep an eye on it. So back to.
So if we're following Mech, we go with the hammer, greatsword. If we're following you, we go with sword, and greatsword.
Yes, please.
No, just because you're definitely a more. There's not many commanders on Gandara that are more melee focused, but I noticed when you command, it's all about the melee bomb.
Yeah, but in my opinion, it works better, and I'm gonna show you why it worked better. Now, as I was saying, swapping legend and swapping weapon has the same cooldown. So to keep it simple, I'm gonna show you the rotation using the double sword, and then we're gonna show you how it's gonna be adapted for the hammer. All the rotation are based on a priority list, which I wrote down, and now I'm gonna get and read. Okay, so and legendary stance, a legendary alliance. Your elite skill is your highest single target DPS skill. So if you're going for single target, using the spear is your highest priority. Second highest priority is Waste Unleashed, which is your great sword number 2. followed by the number 5 ability. 10 is the dodge. So you always want to use your number 2, 5 dodge. Other than that, we have the advanced here and the I'm looking, and the onslaught. Both these two skills are also movement skill, and gap closers. So what you're probably gonna do if you are slightly out of range, like I'm in this case, you want to use your advance or your onslaught to close the gap. Use the number 2, 5, the other elite, and you do a crap ton of damage with that rotation. Also, remember that both those skills are gap closers, and you have to prioritize using those over dodge to get to the target, because you're gonna go there quickly, and you're also gonna save a dodge, which is your main defensive cooldown. That's also important to survive. Once you have used all of these skills, which I'm gonna repeat that the spear if you're going for single target, otherwise the mist, the 5, and the 2 mobility skills. Once you're done with that, your auto attack chain is your best thing that you can do. You can basically ignore the rest. Why is
I
that?
noticed. I was just going to say, I really noticed that last night. I was in a tower and there was another Power Vindy in the same, over on the same boss, and I was just trying to see what I could do to max my damage, and he did quite a bit more than me, and I was like, right, what the hell are you doing? So I clicked arc. It was all just button 1. I was like, what the hell?
Yes, yeah, and more importantly, I mean, for us at least, is that the number 1, the auto target chain is AoE as well. So you're gonna cleave targets with number 1. Now I've skipped the Imperial Guard, which is your oh shit button. It looks like you're receiving too much damage. You have few options to survive. One option is dodge away. The second option is block your attack. If you manage to block the attack, then you can also reuse the skill to do a very slow moving attack that does a little bit of damage. Now, do we care about that? No, because it's not in your priority list. The priority is doing the others. Also notice that Go ahead.
The wind-up time on that 4 is almost slower than the auto attack. I think it's better to not even cast it half the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're gonna use it for the block, and that's it. That's only to survive. I also skipped these 2 skills, and your healing skill. Obviously, you're gonna use your healing skill to, survive a little bit more, especially when we push through stuff. It's nice to have that healing skill to apply some damage while we move and also keep yourself alive. Your rage is your break stun, so if you get stuck somewhere, you want that to have that available to break out of stun and also daze nearby enemies. Daze 1, if you feel like dropping it at range, go for it. I mean, it does a little bit, but you're not gonna kill anything with it. Just feel free to use it and it's fine. Now, and this is for the Legendary Alliance. When we switch to Dwarf, if you're running double sword, I suggest to swap both Legend and Weapon together to keep things easy and simple. So, as you swap them together, the first thing you want to do, and that's your priority, is activating the Vengeful Hammers. It reduces your incoming damage, so it's sort of a damage reduction for you, but it also do quite a decent amount of damage around. So you want to activate that as soon as you switch to Dwarf. If needed, go for the stab road. Try to aim it into the enemies because it does damage. And your main objective is doing damage more than the stability that it applies, but it's also nice to have it. And then your priorities are number 2, number 4, if a single target, number 5, otherwise you can skip it, and then 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, and 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and keep your dodge up. That's all you're gonna do in Dwarf.
So it's the same as Herald, really, then? Is that?
Yes, that's exactly the same as 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and dodge it once in a while to keep the buff up. And you're gonna drain the energy rather quickly, but it will take roughly 9 seconds to do so. And guess what? After that happens, you go back to the Alliance and go back to the Great Sword and Alliance thing. Rinse and repeat. Every 9 seconds you swap and you damage. So that's your damage rotation. It's incredibly easy to do. And I like to keep things easy. It also do decent amount of damage and spike. I was playing around with it before. You manage to spike around, well, against these golems around 20k DPS. You get that easily without trying to optimize anything and without the group. Just pretty nice.
Sorry, I was just going to say I find the spear quite good for finishing groups of downies, and also the heal as well. Actually, is quite useful for finishing them off.
Yeah, keep in mind that your healing skill does less damage than your auto attack. So if you want to finish downs, you probably want to auto attack and keep your damage rotation basically. And your damage rotation, as we can see against these enemy, has a very low cooldown, right? Because you have to couple of skill and you have plenty of energy all the time, right? It's not that you are energy starved in any way, shape or form. So you can always fit more stuff while you are in Alliance. As you can see, if you're looking at my screen, I'm at full energy. So you can do basically whatever you want. When you switch to Dwarf, then you're slightly more energy starved because the Vengeful Hammer drains you rather quickly. So, but other than that, it's really that simple. I keep going. I used the healing skill by mistake. So as roughly, now I was in combat for forever, but the you fluctuate around the 12k damage per second, but it spike up to 18 depending on the your might stack, your bloodlust stack, and whatever. But that's your range. Now, if you want to finish downs, the easiest way to finish downs is doing that in Dwarf with the hammer and with the auto attack from the sword, which is quite fast and still cleaves 3 targets. Now, if you're playing with the hammer, how things change. Well, let me get out of combat first. So let's keep a hammer, which I always have. Now, in your Alliance, nothing really changes because you always have the Great Sword and you have the all the nice things. But what it changed is that instead of swapping both weapon and alliance at the same time, alliance legend at the same time, while you are in melee range, you only switch legend, and you always keep the greatsword. The rotation for the greatsword is the same. You keep doing basically number 2, 1, and if it's available, number 3 or 5. And while you are in dwarf, you basically keep up your powerful armor, and that's it. And you keep the standard rotation for the greatsword. You're gonna switch to hammer regardless of the legend that you are in, whenever you are at range. Now, something to pay attention is that if you are really close to the enemy and you switch to hammer, your hammer has a dead zone between you and when you actually start doing damage. So it's not exactly where you are. If you try to drop down the Colossus of Ruin, you see the green stuff that goes around. You can see that it's actually outside of my character. So you have to pay attention to stay slightly behind to make sure that you're actually hitting the enemy group. You wanna use your number 2 and your auto attack basically. There are times where you don't want to use the auto attack, and it happens basically when we are, funnily enough, at range. If you are at range, always keep an eye out on if the enemy is using reflects or effects that stops projectiles. If they do, you have to stop your auto attack chain, otherwise you're gonna probably do more damage than to your party and your group than the enemy itself. In that case, your rotation is number 2, and you can use this shitty thing that goes and does damage in an area, and that's about it. I rather that you guys don't even use the auto attack chain if you are reflecting damage. Not because it might get absorbed, but if it gets reflected, you also damage 5 people on your side.
I've got a question.
So nice.
If you see a reflect going up, I've done that. I've seen a reflect going up, and I've hit button 4 to cover the reflect.
Sure,
Don't know.
you could.
But you're not really. I suppose you're not really accomplishing anything because you're still not hitting the enemy.
My point exactly. Unfortunately, that's. I mean, it's a counterplay, and you can also use drop the hammer to apply some CC at range. Keep as with all the other skills from hammer, they are quite slow. So you have to predict when actually gonna land, and hopefully it's gonna land on enemy's head. But yeah, whenever you're in hammer, keep an eye out on the field. Don't press 111 blindly, because you may get all the damage reflected to your party, which is again not nice. So I hopefully that covers the when to swap to hammer, which is not when you are in melee range. And also it's well important to notice that it still has 9 seconds cooldown, the swap. So if we are pushing in melee range, we're doing our damage rotation, super nice. We start moving back and you switch to hammer, and then we push immediately after that. Inside, it's not an issue. Why? Because as I said before, you can use the auto attack at point blank range. It's usually fine. It's more difficult that reflects are going up when we are clashing in melee, because both groups are more worried about staying up with keep the stability active and all that kind of stuff, rather than we are, you know, waiting to get in range. So it's not an issue whether if you're in range and we decide to move away, you're still DPSing the downs and you are in hammer. It's fine. It's not a problem at all. Obviously, you're gonna do way less damage than you are with the greatsword, so it's not optimal, but it's not the end of the world. Same goes for the other way around. If you are at range and you are in the greatsword, but you are looking at the field and try to find the best place to land your damage, and you are already in the greatsword, it's fine as long as we are about to engage. But if you are, I don't know, regrouping, covering our downs, and we actually need some cover damage on the enemy, then having the hammer helps you to provide some pressure counter that doesn't get reflected, which is the major downside of hammer. As for the range, it doesn't really matter which legend you are on. Arguably, dwarf has some advantages because as we are pushing in, you could provide stability. On the other side, the alliance as the burst, which is also useful to start applying some pressure while we are getting closer. So I'm trying to what I'm trying to say, I guess, is it doesn't really matter that much the legend that you are in. It matters more your positioning, how you approach the fight, and how efficient you are with the greatsword rotation to do a shit ton of damage. And also I prefer the double sword as a weapon set.
Just a quick one, Donald. I don't know if Shinko's covered this or not. I've just managed to jump in, but your
I assume that I
Alliance
did.
stuff buffs for each other target that you hit.
Come again?
Your Kurzik Alliance stuff, your Luxon Alliance skills are more potent for each target that they hit. So if you hit 1, you'll get a certain number of boons, but if you hit 5, you'll get much more from it.
Yeah. I haven't really... I didn't go in.
Worth note.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
They scale.
Yeah, they scale with the within 1 to targets. Then again, your main objective is to hit as many people as possible. So, yeah. Of course, you're trying to then again, you should prioritize the onslaught to use it as a gap closer, so you are really close to the enemy while you do the advance. So you're gonna always hit, well, hopefully 5 targets. Now we're only 3 targets. Same goes for the most of your skills, while you want to be as close as possible to the enemy, so you have a better chance to actually cleave. The scavenger boss, well, you can forget that it exists. The rage, considering that it has a daze effect, the more people you hit, the better. In any case, the extra stability is nice, although might get stripped. But then, as I said before, it's a break stun first, so you're always gonna use it to break stun, and then it provides you stability on top of that. So it's highly likely that you're gonna survive by using this defensive cooldown. If you don't have any dodges available because you used it to keep up your stuff, you can always use energy melt to get a little bit of endurance back. The Imperial Guard is amazing to to save yourself while you are repositioning to get closer to the to your squad and survive. So yeah, that's the. But yeah, sure,
So-
they're all scale. Yeah, and also the healing skill is like an empower if used in close range. Also remember that both the onslaught and the advance requires a target. I mean, they also work without a target, and you're simply gonna go forward. If you have a target, you're gonna charge that target. So
We'll go further.
keep in mind that you have. It's better if you have a target. Yeah. That was it, I think. Unless there are questions, which I hope so, because I talked for. It feels like forever, but it's only been half an hour.
So in a group comp situation, then what is it we would actually prefer to be running? The double sword, great sword, or hammer and great sword?
It depends on the night and on the cops that we are fighting. By default, you want to run hammer and great sword because it provides the best flexibility. If we are gonna do GVG styles of fights, then double sword is probably better because it's more likely that we're gonna stay melee range for more time. And if you're running with the great sword and double sword, you're basically a melee only class. So you need a commander that stays in melee and is the possibility to stay in melee range. And in GVGs that happens more frequently. While in open field,
I was just going to say that I don't think the hammer's too slow, isn't it, for GVG? It's you. By the time you've fucking got 2 hits off, they've already one pushed you.
Yeah, exactly. And again, if we go against a squad that tends to overrun us and keep running toward us, so on the other side we have a better chance to stay in melee range, then the double sword is a better choice. Because then again, we have a huge burst of damage, then we can stop them from pushing us. With that, the short answer, it depends. But I hope that it was clear enough. Unless Mac
Thank
has
you,
something
Shinko.
else to say, because
Yeah,
I'm.
thanks, Shinko. That made a lot more sense.
Just another one, guys, about double sword.
Mm.
If you look at 5 skill and the range on its blink, if you were to go and you have downs available to weapon swap and you needed to get into a target and cleave fast, your 5 into great sword 5, so sword 5, great sword 5, the blink into that is insane when you can get it.
Yeah, as I said when I was talking about the double sword, your depth strike as your spear are great for single target damage. Your unrelating assault, I haven't talked about it. I also didn't mention it at all, but it's super dangerous to use. If you ever played on Herald, you know that you should probably skip that skill altogether. The dangerous part is that I'm gonna demonstrate it quickly against this column. As soon as I press it, I start going randomly around the battlefield, and I end up in a random position. Now, the usage of the word random is what you don't want. You always want to be in control of your position, especially as a Vindicator, which has a limited amount of health available and defense, and not that many defensive cooldowns. So, Awaiting Assault, unless you are against one single target, in that case, it's an amazing skill, it does a shit ton of damage. But if there are multiple targets, just don't use it. While I haven't said that, but the Shackling Wave, it's amazing because it gives you emob. And as for the timing, you know, we are supposed fucked up the legend swap, but as we are starting with greatsword, you jump in, you start doing some damage, and then you swap to the to your sword. Your shocking wave stops them from running away while you are hitting them with your other skills, and that should make you happy because you are doing way more damage as they cannot move unless they are getting cleansed. That's the other nice part of the double sword. But yeah, I like the flexibility of having 3 weapons and use them when we need to. Also, looking at the queue, I think we have to queue somewhere.
Pick one and
Because otherwise we're gonna raid on Obsidian Sanctum.
You want me in Dragon Hunter tonight, yeah?
Well, let me stop your call.